You know what I mean? It's all right, Wad. I mean, we got a sale yesterday, so that's pretty exciting. I'm still wrestling with it. I found something was pretty interesting. He asked if y'all are mad at the Yap Fest, it's because y'all. But this was interesting. So let's philosophy time. Where's Jay? Where's Jay when you need him? Jay and Will are my philosopher guys. They think. What think here? Purpose. What is my purpose? And as weird as it may sound, it was a great demonstration. So let me share this. At Minecraft, I know I probably share this 1,000 times. We're playing Minecraft, community server. I want to build a bridge between these two islands to connect them. I love infrastructure. I love agriculture. So I want to make sure that I can connect these two islands. I built this absolutely beautiful bridge. I mean, it took a while, and I was very dedicated to making that bridge the best bridge it could be. You know, different rails and stuff like that. I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. I complete the bridge. I got a nice house already. What else do I do? I don't know what else to do. Was my purpose in building the bridge? Purpose cannot be found merely in work, as what I've discovered, because that work will be finished and you're still left over. Even if, let's just say, even if you're pushing towards the goal and you don't necessarily complete it and it goes to somebody else, that wasn't your purpose. I think about Ecclesiastes. You know, it's going to go in vain. Anyway, vanity, vanity, all in vanity. So it can't be just that. Now what? What can it be found? You know, it's like, what do we do? And I thought to myself, like, if I was God, if I was in a divine, not in a divine position, but if I was in a position of creation, and okay, this is a good example. This is a good example. In the server, it's Mariah's server, and it's this little broken down village. I want to rebuild the village, right? Making a community, and you got the two villagers. And I thought to myself, like, I just want the community to thrive and do stuff, right? But like, I'm not going to go to each villager and say, "Hey, this is what you need to do." And I thought, like, what if a villager? Right, this is me thinking. Came up to me and said, "You know, what do I do?" I was like, "I could care less. I just wanted y'all to be here. This is my community." You know what I mean? Here it is. I didn't go that far. I don't think God would go that far to make us just these type of robots. And you know, one must think Sisyphus as happy. You know, pushing up that boulder. I don't think he went that far. Not in a state of act as pure as that he can't go that far, but in a sense of that he chooses not to. But his whole goal for us is just to thrive and to love one another. To love him and to love one another. That's the whole point of the law, right? That's what the conclusion was in Ecclesiastes 6:12, where it says, I think it was Ecclesiastes 6:12, this is the whole conclusion of the matter, to fear God and keep his commandments. The whole law was to love God and love others. All of this was just to love one another. You know, I heard this message at some type of college, you send them out, whatever it is, and it was him sharing, like, look, in all my years of being a pastor and visiting people on their deathbed, I've never been asked, bring my trophies to me one more time so I could take a look. Bring all my achievements so I could take one last look. It's always bring my loved ones. You know, I want to tell them goodbye. So it can't be our achievements. It can't be the work. And if at the deathbed, it's the relationships that we want to have last, it must be somewhere around there. So the purpose must be to love God and love our neighbors. And in doing so, we can have the creative liberty to do whatever we want in between that. We can have the creative liberty to say, look, you like shoes? Man, you make shoes. Man, if you like bridges, man, you make bridges. I think God has given us all different interests that we can build on and thrive in. But ultimately, we're going to make sure that we are loving one another and we're just having fun in those interests. But our purpose is not in those interests. Our purpose is not in those strengths. Because someone can be the best basketball player but still be far from God. So it wasn't basketball, you know? And then we could go as far to say, like, what about if the purpose is to love God and love our neighbors, and what about an extreme case of making our whole life a devotion to God in a sense that, like, we only read scripture 24/7 and that's it. We just sing psalms and all like that. It's like church, like, every day. And I'm like, I feel like we're missing out on the creation. And Adam and Eve, this is a really good place to go. You got to go back to Adam and Eve. These are the first people, really. And this is before the fall. He says, look, I want you to have dominion over the animals and, you know, keep the garden. You know what I mean? Keep it up. So even in paradise, humans still had a job. That was interesting. You know, it was something to do, but it wasn't his sole purpose, because he rejected God by taking the apple. His main purpose was to love God and listen to his commands. In doing so, he was allowed to go in his interest and to do what God said, to keep the garden and to have dominion over the animals. To name them, right? I mean, like, God, the creator of the universe, asked Adam to name the animals. Isn't that interesting? You know? It's like, what? The one who created the animals, now you're going to have this human-made creature go name the animals that you made. I mean, you're the divine creator. You made it all. Why does he have to name it? He wants us to. So it has to be something more than just the work that we do. It's not an achievement. It's not like we're working towards this goal. And I think oftentimes that possibly this is something from Satan, or just the culture in general, that we have to work towards the goal. That the fulfillment comes from achieving that goal. To work hard, study in school to get a degree so you can get a job, so you can get a lot of money, so you can get a good house, so you can build a family and get that nice car, and then survive so they can ultimately retire and do nothing. Like there's always a level. It's like, no, there has to be something else. And I think the purpose is just to love God and to love others. That has to be it. Everything we do between there is just our creative liberty. I have to know as a business owner that my business does not matter in the end. Vanity of vanity, it does not matter. I have to know that my interest in Formula One, it does not matter at the end of the day. The only thing that matters is God. But in doing so, being in his creation, I'm allowed to be in that and have fun with it. That's why church is so important, because we are loving God. That's why we forsake not the fellowship of one another. That's why we have iron sharpens iron, because people are important. You know? That's just something I'm exploring. And I guess that's why it goes back to that Matthew 7. Depart from me, I never knew you. Do you have a relationship with Christ? You can't achieve anything in Christ. Not in the sense that you can't like be a pastor or get a doctorate in theology, but you can't earn your salvation. His love was already there. And then, you know, I think it kind of, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So the purpose, because I was like, okay, wow, this is interesting. So I was going to say, then how do we make sense of what to do now? If it's just relationships, now what do? We do that. We pursue the relationships. Then I'm thinking about like, well, what about my business? It's like I gotta love. And if I think people need this thing, then I'm loving them and providing it. And when we're studying, we're loving the thing that we're doing and making companions along the way, and we're all learning together and we're growing. You know, that's a way of loving. That's a way of relationship. We're loving the world that the Lord has made. We're learning about it. And in doing so, let's just say it's like math or history. We're learning how to act and how to better improve the suffering here. Not as far to go to a hedonistic thing, because the idea isn't to suffer or to ease suffering, but to love one another. That's the whole goal. And if you're a hedonist, I mean like a blown out hedonist, I'm sure that there'll be no one around you at your deathbed. So it can't be easing your own suffering. Wow, okay, so then it has to be about helping others who are suffering. I read this note, I can't remember where it was, but talking about humbleness. And the note was something along the lines of, it's not for us to think less of ourselves, but to think of ourselves less and others more, and put their needs before ours. You know what I mean? It's not to think of ourselves as we're not worthy of this, or we're horrible human beings. And that's not what it means to be humble. To be humble, to put the needs of others first, not put yourself down. So that's why it can't be hedonistic, because to be hedonistic is to put your own needs first. But if I love others, like if I run this business, if I love others, I'm going to try to provide value in other people's lives. But if I made it about myself and I'm trying to make money, then I got a problem, because I'm trying to find the hedonistic pleasures. The same way it's like manipulation in a relationship. If I manipulate an individual to provide, things, that's not real. That's not authentic. And I'm only trying to think of my hedonistic pleasures instead of actually loving that other individual and having the benefits of it. Fascinating discussion, my friends. This has been a little bit of a yap fest, but this has been good. This is a much needed yap fest. Interesting. Because I knew it's like somewhat along the lines of it's all about love in some type of way, but how to go about that, I guess, was like kind of confusing. It's like, what do I do with this now? It's like, if that's the answer, now what? But if that is the answer, that is the what? To love. And the idea of humbleness, to not think less of yourself, but to think of yourself less, right? Not to think that you are a horrible individual, but to just put the needs of others before you think of your own needs, and then benefiting from that symbiotic relationship, if you want to even call it that, Interesting. Wow, this has been interesting.